What's going on, guys? Welcome to your 9th JavaScript tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be talking to you guys about something called the return statement. So sometimes, like before, we made a function and it just did something. It either printed text out on the screen, or it made a pop-up appear, or it just did something. But sometimes you want the function to return a value to you. So this is especially useful whenever you're making a calculation and you pass in two numbers as a parameter, for example, 20 and 10, and you say multiply these together, and it multiplies them and it returns the value to you. Or in other words, it performs the calculation and it returns the answer to you. So sometimes you can see you just need functions to do something like print out something on the screen or pop up a text box, and sometimes you need it to perform a calculation and give you back the value. And whenever you need the value in return, we need to use something called the return statement. So let's go ahead and make the most basic function we can with the most basic return function. So let's go ahead and name function, and let's go ahead and name this too easy because this is going to be extremely easy, not even going to take any parameters. And let's go ahead and just return any value. Let's return just some text, game time. So now whenever we call this function too easy and try to run it, nothing happens because by default, as you can see, we didn't tell it to do anything. We didn't tell it to print it out on the screen. We didn't tell it to, use it in an alert box. We just said, give us this value back. And with that value, we didn't even do anything with it. So in order to use that return value, you actually have to use it somehow. So for example, if you write document.write, and then inside here you call your function too easy, what it's going to do is it's going to take this function right here and it's going to say, alright, for this function you want me to return the text game time. So whenever you give me the function, I'm going to substitute the return value, which is game time. So then I'm going to print out, aka document write game time. So it's basically saying, alright, this function is basically equal to the return value. So when I say document write too easy, it's going to calculate this and figure that the answer is game time. Now, this might be a little difficult to understand, so what I decided to do is make a function teaching you guys how to add two numbers, add one number and another number, and give you, basic addition. And I know that I didn't talk to you guys about any of the math operators or how you can use algebra with, JavaScript, but it's going to be really simple to understand, a lot more simple than that example. So let's go ahead and make another function and just call it add numbers. And it's going to take two parameters. It's going to take A and B. And inside here, let's go ahead and make another variable called C, and this will just be the sum of A plus B. So now if you pass it like the number 3 and 4, C would be equal to 7 because it's going to add A and B and store it in that variable C. So now what we want to do is we want to return C. So now later on when we're programming and we go ahead and write add numbers, let's go ahead and pass it like 3 and 6. Whenever we call this, nothing is going to happen because this is just the value of 9. We didn't tell it to print out 9 on the screen. We didn't tell it to print out 9 in an alert box. It just is the value of 9 and it's just sitting there in our program, pretty much like a waste of space. So let's go ahead, save this, and see what happens. Nothing. So let's go ahead and actually take this and cut it, and now let's go ahead and write document.write, and inside that paste, let me get rid of that semicolon, put it at the end, paste that function add numbers. And now it says, alright, the function add numbers 3 and 6 is basically equal to the value of 9. So what do you want me to do with that 9? Oh, you want me to write it out on the screen. Now I see. So we go ahead and save this and refresh. That is why we get the value of 9 on the screen. So again, a return value isn't really useful unless you do something with it. And as you can see clearly in this example, we called the value 3 as A and B is 6. And it said 3 plus 6 is 9. So that's why I'm going to return 9 to you. So anyways, the expression add numbers 3 and 6, it basically looks at this and says 9. So that's why it wrote 9 out on the screen. So basically, Whenever you call a function, it's basically looking at it and trying to figure out what's the return value, and then it takes that return value and does whatever you want to it. So that is the basics of a return value. Again, I know I didn't even teach you guys that you can add variables, but hey, you can. Whenever they're a number, it adds them together. So that's a little glimpse into the future. But for now, that's all I want to cover. So thank you guys for watching this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we're probably going to be talking more about functions, but for now, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next tutorial.